Michelle Smith is next up. They hear me?
Oh, okay. Good evening. My name is Zoe Fontecchio, and I'm a student at the Downingtown STEM Academy. To be completely honest, this is not how I wanted to be spending my Wednesday night. Standing up here at 17 years old, addressing the school board because of a vocal group of uninformed parents who are fighting for the endangerment of not only their own children's lives, but of the 13,000 students enrolled in the Downingtown Area School District. Look around. We are in the midst of a worldwide pandemic. I bet that if you turn to either one of the people sitting next to you, they would say that they know someone who has lost their life to COVID. I encourage you to take that statement into consideration when you say that masks should not be required in schools. Why would people with 8+ years of higher education, people with medical degrees, people who have dedicated their lives to scientific research spend the entirety of the last 2 years developing vaccines and highly effective masks if they weren't going to save lives? Also, what makes you think that a virus can discriminate between the ages of the people it infects? Now you might say, the virus doesn't negatively affect children the same as an adult. However, this is blatantly false. I contracted COVID-19 in January of 2021 and still have long-term symptoms to today. I have difficulty breathing, loss of smell and taste, fatigue, plus so much more, and I'm not alone. I know numerous other students my age facing the same predicament as me. To baffle you even more, I happened to contract COVID from a 13-year-old kid enrolled in this school district because he wasn't required to wear a mask at sports practices. I wore a mask in public, to school, at work, and never got sick. I didn't wear a mask around my friend's family and younger brother, who was asymptomatic and contracted COVID in a matter of minutes. He also went on to spread COVID to his entire family, the rest of his sports team, my entire family, and most likely more people after that. If we don't wear masks, people will get sick. Not everyone displays symptoms, making the virus much more deceiving and scary. I would never have been put in that situation if he had worn a mask to practice. Your decisions affect other people's lives directly. Just because you don't believe in science does not mean that you have the right to disrespect other people's safety. It's kind of crazy concept to be able to say that I grew up during a worldwide pandemic. Not exactly what I thought of the majority of my high school career would look like. Teachers on computer screens and months spent trapped in my room because people in our community refused to wear a mask or refused to get vaccinated. If everyone sitting here actually cared about the lives of the people around them, a mask mandate wouldn't even be a discussion. It is not violating your First Amendment right to ask you to protect others. If every single one of you anti-maskers and anti-vaxxers had complied with the CDC recommendations, the pandemic would be over in the United States. Your children wouldn't have to wear that mask you hate so much to school. Your children wouldn't be missing out on school dances, prom, fundraisers, and community events. Wearing a mask for 8 hours a day for a few months will not kill anyone. It will prevent actual deaths among students. As my closing statement, I'd like to reiterate that science is real. COVID is real. Masks prevent the spread of COVID. Masks save lives. Don't let your child be the next name on a list of lives lost to this deadly disease because you didn't want to be inconvenienced by wearing a piece of breathable fabric on your face.
So, Ms. Pontevecchio, we're gonna limit everyone to 3 minutes.
I'm done.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, young voters, welcome back to another video. Today, we are joined by guests. We have Zoe, and how do you pronounce your last name?
Fontecchio.
Fontecchio, okay. So we have Zoe here, and she's a student at STEM, and recently, or not so recently, at this point, that was like 2 or 3 weeks ago?
I think it was a couple weeks ago, right before school started.
Oh, 5 weeks ago. I'm checking right now. Yeah, time flies. So 5 weeks ago, she made a speech at a school board meeting in favor, or she was in favor of making sure students wear masks, and it was a fantastic speech, and a lot of people saw it. So we're just here to interview and ask her a couple questions about how she felt during the speech, and just give her a chance to speak, because she had a great speech. It's very passionate, and we just want to give her a chance to talk. Whenever we see something happening in the local community, we like to reach out, especially if it's like politically related, which in this case it sort of is, because unfortunately it's a little bit politicized, like the mask wearing. So yeah, all right. So I just have some questions for her, and yeah. So my first question was like, fantastic speech, by the way. How'd you feel like while you were up there? How did it feel to be speaking to the school board?
I definitely have social anxiety. I've struggled with that for a while. but I knew it was for like a good cause. So I got up there. I was extremely nervous at first, but I was sitting with my mom and a couple of her friends that were also speaking. So I definitely had a support system with me. So I did feel empowered by that. I was a bit sweaty and nervous when I got up there, but I think once you start speaking, definitely it helps to just keep going. So I wasn't entirely super nervous once I was able to get started, but getting up there was a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, I could definitely tell, like during the video, you really started, getting into it towards that middle part, and like that was definitely like probably the best part. So yeah, okay, awesome. And yeah, I had another question written down, like, were you nervous before? But you already answered that. So
Absolutely. I was like shaking.
And did you like do anything beforehand that helped you calm down a little bit, or anything that worked, or
No, not really.
not
I
so
wasn't
much?
even sure that I was going to be that nervous because I've been doing better with public speaking. I don't seem to have issues much anymore, but definitely took me by surprise because I think like the whole climate of not being in like big social settings for the last couple of years is definitely probably a big change for anybody who's getting up to speak because you're not really surrounded by a room that big very often.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like I used to be, completely fine with public speaking, and then like over
Mhm.
COVID, it just got like worse. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know. It just, you don't, if you don't practice it, it just falls out of fashion. So,
it does.
mhm. So yeah, so you mentioned like you had your mom there, and you had like a nice
Mhm.
support. Did you feel supported by the students after your speech?
I did. I felt very, very supported by our community because I had all my teachers reach out and tell me how good of a job I did, which I did not expect because I didn't really know who would watch board meetings. And then definitely my friends all supported me as well. And then people who I hadn't talked to previously would message me, and it was extremely empowering because I felt like I actually did something that had a change.
Mhm. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was an awesome speech. So you definitely deserve all the praise you got.
Thank you.
So okay. So another question that I had was, so in general, like with the mask wearing, obviously, thankfully it went into effect, and we're wearing masks. So I guess, do you ever regret your speech that we're wearing them, or you're still
Not at
standing
all.
behind everything you said?
Stand behind everything I said.
Mhm.
STEM definitely is doing an amazing job. Everybody there wears their mask properly. I have not seen anybody take it off for an unneeded purpose or anything. So I definitely feel safe in our school environment. I'm not sure about the other schools because I don't really have too many friends in them, but
Mhm.
no, I do feel like it did impact the school environment um, positively.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like all the the whole, like the vibe the district creates, and the teachers create, and the students create, that all like encourages everybody to wear the mask properly too. So yeah, it was, really important that you stood up and spoke. And then I wanted to ask you, did you think that the district did a good job, like when this first became a question, like some parents were getting mad, and I didn't really expect, like, I didn't, like, obviously it was happening everywhere else, like on the news we read about it, but I didn't expect parents in our area to be that mad with it. But some were really going crazy. So do you think the district should have done more to get ahead of that and been like, no, we're
I
protecting our students, or do
I
you think?
do. I think that the district definitely reacted reactionary. They were not prepared necessarily for this to happen, and they definitely took politics into account and not just what was recommended by like the CDC or medical necessity. So I do think that they were not necessarily prepared for this type of like I guess argument kind of
Mhm.
between people, but I definitely would have expected it where we live because we do live in a pretty divided area, Chester County, because a lot of it is like not entirely suburban, it's kind of rural. So you have people of very different political standings.
Mhm. So yeah, so that, okay, great response. So I guess leading from that, you mentioned like how like they had to consider the political ramifications. So you're definitely of the opinion then that they should have been like, don't, like, let's not worry about the politics. We're gonna do
Yes.
what should be
Politics
safe.
should not be part of this. I don't see why it ever had to be. Like to keep yourself safe from a virus doesn't need to bring like who you would vote for president into it. I don't think that has any business being part of the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely, I would be inclined to, agree with you that, the district should have done a little bit more. They should have gotten ahead out of it and been like, we're gonna keep our students safe. And if you want to complain, then you can, but we're probably not going to listen to you because we're going to do whatever is most safe for the students. So speaking of safety and like creating sort of a cultural vibe, you did mention at STEM, everybody's wearing their mask properly. And at East, at least my experience is like some of the teachers sort of let kids get away with pulling it down over their nose. So is that an issue at STEM?
Not that I've seen, no.
Okay. Maybe, so say like that was an issue. Do you think the teachers have also like a responsibility to be like, put your mask up properly?
They do. I feel like they do. And I feel like the ones that I've had this year would say that they would speak up, because I do have very conscientious teachers. I think that's also part of the environment of STEM, is people there are more politically conscious and conscious with what's going on in the world today. But I do think that they would speak up.
Great. So yeah, I guess, it all comes with the creation of the vibe like that way. So we, like at the time that you had your speech, like the vaccine was going out and, it was going out in pretty full force, and that had come out a little bit before then too as well. But and you mentioned vaccines as well in your speech, but it was mostly focused on mask wearing, right? So what about as far as vaccines, do you think that, like, same as a mask, they should have been mandated for kids at the school, or what are your thoughts on that?
I do think that, but that's not a super popular opinion. Vaccines are extremely heavily researched, and like the amount of time and effort that goes into creating vaccines, that they're probably going to be safe, and they wouldn't be administered in the entire population of the United States or around the world if they were not safe and not believed to be safe. And mine has personally, I believe mine has worked numerous times where I've been exposed and I've not gotten COVID since being vaccinated. So I do feel like that is like an extra precaution that should have been taken. But I mean, we are in a public school district, and public schools are not mandating vaccines pretty often. It's normally private schools or private universities. So I wouldn't have expected that.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely not so much like a decision the district can really
like
make.
More of like a state government or county government type of decision.
But if you like, say you were for like tomorrow, you were president or something, you would definitely consider doing something like that.
I would consider mandating them.
All right, awesome. Here, I'm just looking at my list of questions. So we're talking about the vaccines, and in your speech you mentioned like if you like to talking specifically to the parents who are mad about the masks, and we're saying like, we want to go back to normal. You're saying we have to wear the mask if you want to get back to normal. So you think that's something that's sort of like that idea is missing politically, that's something more people should push if they're wanting to get the pandemic over, then we have to do this. We have to get vaccinated. We have to wear masks.
You have to take preventative measures if you want to see normalcy from come back, because if you're not trying to actively solve the problem, there isn't going to be like a rapid increase in being able to go out and have normal experiences if you're not trying to take safety precautions and measures to get there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, I think you're totally right. If we want to see some sort of, if we want to like go back to normal, then we're gonna have to do stuff to like get it there. It's like we can't just decide, okay, COVID's over. Like be like, all right, COVID, you're good, you're done.
That's just not how pandemics work. We've seen it in the past. There's been previous pandemics. It's got to look at history, I feel like, because it does somewhat repeat itself.
I mean, we've seen it this pandemic. Like we were like, I guess like a lot of like Texas opened up, or Florida opened up.
Texas, Florida opened up, and now they're those extremely high rates of infection.
Yeah, I mean, you can't just decide the pandemic's over, and that's like part of making it political. So moving like into the realm of politics of this whole situation. Obviously, we had the Biden election almost like 9 months ago now, I think. Yeah. So it's been a second. But Biden definitely like ran on the guy who's supposed to be fixing COVID and stuff like that. So your thoughts personally, like, as a student and just as a young person in this day and age, do you think he is fitting his promises, like his campaign promises, fixing COVID? Or
definitely stood up to some of them. I do believe he has done way more than Trump would have done in that position. So I do feel like that he's committed to multiple of those promises, but at the same time, there's a lack in some areas.
Yeah, I think that the Delta variant really like threw everybody for definitely put a wrench in things. And the issue is like the vaccine isn't as good for Delta, like
no,
the trend, like I mean, it's the effectiveness rates are pretty similar, but the issue is like it transmits even if you have the vaccine. So we're sort of seeing a different thing here. And there's a significant concern among some people that like a lot of people are like waiting for the vaccine. We're like, just wait for the vaccine, pandemic will be over, and the vaccine. And right now we're seeing like the same amount, like not the same exactly, but like we're seeing like pretty similar case rate infections, and we're seeing pretty similar deaths per 100,000 with COVID. The main difference being now everybody who's dying is not vaccinated, or like the vast majority. But the issue is we're seeing similar numbers because of the Delta strain. So do you think like the issue is right now is the vaccine works for the Delta strain, but what happens if we get another strain that doesn't work with the vaccine?
That's a very possible event, I feel like, and I don't know how prepared people are for that. But I really do think that's up to people who are making the vaccines and trying to figure out how to handle this medically. But I don't think people are really prepared for situations like that because it is all unknown. This hasn't happened in 100 years. So I don't think that it would be handled immediately. No, I think that's a very probable possibility.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely my biggest worry. And my worry is that we're going to see a situation where like, you know, it's interesting because like in the US, we never had like a lockdown. Like we've had like do it if you want lockdown for most of it. And then we had like essential businesses staying open that were like gyms or whatever, right? That like, you know, aren't essential businesses, but like they somehow like get around the regulations where they are still open. So we never had like a full lockdown. So it's been like semi-open, semi-not, but it's been more open recently, I'd say, or now it's closing the economy.
It has been
because of Delta.
I feel like it's still pretty open. It's people aren't really wearing masks in public. It's still about the same as it was this summer.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a little bit more people wearing masks because of Delta, but and maybe also because of schools back in session where kids were not used to wearing masks every day. So it's maybe a little bit more difficult when you're going out in public. Are you gonna wear a mask if you're vaccinated? But now that we're back in school, vaccinated and wearing masks, maybe that changes the social responsibility of it. I do
think it has. I do think that's a big influence.
But what I wanted to ask you was, do you anticipate an issue where if it does happen that it doesn't work with the vaccine, we're back to square one, people are gonna be like, no, I'm not doing quarantine again. I've had enough. We've been doing this for like a year and a half. Do you anticipate that being an issue? I
do. I really do. Based on the way it's all been going so far, Americans seem to have like a very hard will drive, and they do not like to be told what to do. So I do see that being a very real possibility of something that would happen because people are very done with the situation we're in. But, you know, there is like that social responsibility, and you should try and maintain safe precautions and what's asked of you. But I don't believe people are necessarily going to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad and it's a little bit scary to see what's going to happen. But if worse comes to worse and that does happen and people are being like, no, I don't want to quarantine again. Do you think it's the responsibility of maybe us particularly as young people, but just everyone in general, to do stuff like what you did, like come up and speak to the school board and be like, no, we can't do this. We need to, save lives. And it's going to have to be how it is.
I think that's a responsibility our generation really needs to take a hold of, because we are the people of like the future, and we need to speak our minds and say what we think, because we aren't in like a position to have other people be making these decisions for us that are greatly impacting our lives, and we should definitely speak up.
Yeah. So one more question that I wanted to ask you was, we're sort of seeing a lot of parallels with a couple of things, honestly, like our generation, and we've talked about this a little bit before. I believe on Maria's podcast, for people listening, Time Out with Maria, I believe it's called. But we've talked about how Gen Z is sort of expected to solve all these issues where other generations have failed when it comes to like climate change, when it comes to like even in the not last summers, but last summers, BLM protests, people were, it was sort of expected that all the young people are like the people who are going to solve this. And obviously you as a young person took that role in COVID to go and speak up yourself personally. So do you think it's like an unfair burden that's being placed on us? Because like we're all like just graduating, and then we're seeing articles like Gen Z has to be the ones to save us from like climate change, Yeah,
I think it is an unfair burden, because there's a lot more expectations for the young people of today that are results of older generations making poor decisions on the state of our environment and our earth, and the government too. And I do think that like articles like that are written by people who are maybe of an older generation or millennials, or like, what's the one above that? I forget.
Gen X.
I do think that they're trying to push the blame onto us somewhat. So I do think that people who are part of older generations should also be speaking up, because it's not too late. It's never too late to try and amend your actions or try and make a change for yourself, because everybody can do it. So I do believe that we are probably going to be the people who have to take the stand and have to lead it. But I do think that other generations will be helpful at some point, because people do follow what is being like, I guess, like the social norm or what is being pushed. So I do hope that people look after us.
And are you hopeful, I guess, for our generation being able to rise to that challenge? What are your thoughts on that?
I am. I really do have high hopes for our generation, because a lot of my friends are very socially conscious, and I do see them doing great things. And I am very proud of the people I'm around and who I get to interact with. So I do see our generation be able to take the stand and live up to it.
Yeah, I'm totally inclined to agree. I mean, it seems like everybody we know, everybody I know is so smart and so talented, and everybody's starting all these organizations and getting experience. And one thing that we have is like we're such a connected generation. Like even this, like I saw your speech on Instagram, reached out from Instagram, and now we're doing this interview over Zoom.
I know.
And then it's going to be published online for people to see.
We would have never talked either, because like, do you go to East?
Yeah, I go to East.
Yeah, see, I probably would have never known that, even though we're in the same school district and there's only like a couple thousand of us, probably would have never met or talked. So I think that social networking is like a great advantage too, because we're reaching people that we would never reach in the past.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It really helps to build like a sense of community, and it feels like you know more people than you actually know, because I probably follow more people than I know like in real life. So but anytime I meet somebody new, I'll look them up on Instagram and I'll probably already be following them, so I can message them and whatever. So we're so connected, and I think that really is gonna give us sort of an advantage where we are able to reach out to so many people so easily that community building and activism has never been easier. So I think that's where I put my high hopes. But I'm also really worried that what might happen, like what happened to the millennial generation might happen to us, where they were poised to, start taking more control. Not so much as us, because another thing that motivates us is like, we all grew up in school knowing that climate change is coming, and we read it in our textbooks, And when I was a kid, I was like, we need to do something. Like in first grade, I was like, Mom, is the world gonna end when I grow up? You know, and we've always been having to, like, we were born into a world where we knew we had to worry about this stuff. So I feel like, and maybe I'm projecting, but like I feel like we've all had this sort of ticking clock in our heads that we need to do something. So I think we definitely have that drive that maybe some other generations lack, which I think is why I'm hopeful. But I'm also worried that maybe like nihilism, or just as soon as we graduate college, we're put under a ton of debt, and our hopes and dreams of doing all these great things to help the planet and help society sort of falls away at trying to get rid of our student debt and stuff like that. Is that something you're worried about as well?
No, not really. I do
No?
feel like there's change coming in student debt. I feel like that might not be a huge impact on education soon. We're seeing like a lot of changes in education and higher education, and making it possible for people of any type of, I guess, income or place that they're coming from, or where they live or what their identity is, are having access to higher education, because community schools, or community colleges, are becoming much more common. You get free tuition. Like, I think that there's a lot of possibilities for us, and I don't see student debt necessarily being the thing that's what hold us back.
Mm-hmm. Or just like things to hold us back, like, you know, you graduate and then you need a job, and the job market has become so demanding now that you have to be working like these crazy hour weeks to get like a lower salary than older people used to.
I do think that we also know that that's not what we deserve for like low wage jobs and hours that are like not livable. So I do think I see people standing up to this, and that there will be change, because like there's been protests already, and there's nobody working in like food industries because of the low salaries, and it's not a livable wage. So I do think that this is all about to maybe make like a huge difference in the next 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely hope so, and I'll be interested to see how it turns out. But you know, I think we'll be good as long as we have more people like you making these fantastic speeches. And I just want to say, great speech again. And for those who haven't seen it, hopefully I edited in her speech at the start. I'm sure I hope that's fine that I use your clip.
Yes, that's great.
I'll just put it at the start of the video. If I didn't do that, then it's going to be in the description. And if I didn't do either, then I'm a bad person because I forgot to do it. But
you're doing a great job. I'm like, this is amazing what you do, and you take the time to do this.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. But yeah, so hopefully it'll be in the description, but definitely go watch it. If I didn't play at the start, go watch it. Or if you skip through it, go watch it. Even if you did before, maybe you forgot some stuff in it. But so one last question that I had for you was to other people that have seen this video, or maybe even younger people than us who see this video and want to make a change in their community by talking about it. I mean, you mentioned being really nervous at the start. What is your advice for somebody who would want to go to the school board, maybe speak, or go speak to just anybody?
Definitely just seize the moment, because I did not plan on doing that. I wrote the speech that day, actually. I was filling in for my sister because she had wanted to speak, but then wasn't able to. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to write my speech. I sat down for like an hour. I wrote it, edited it a few times, and then I showed up and gave it. So definitely it's not something that you have to plan. It's just go with your gut, take action if you feel like you need to take action. Don't overthink stuff like this. Just do what you think is correct. So, you know, believe in yourself. Even though that sounds cheesy, just kind of go with your gut. Do what you want to do.
I mean, yeah, there's a reason why that's like, I mean, yeah, it's cheesy because a lot of people say that, but there's a reason a lot of people say that.
Yes, you know? There is. Even though it's cheesy, it's true.
All right, awesome. Well, I want to thank you for your time, and
thank you for your time too.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Well, and I want to thank the viewers for their time. So thank you for watching. If you watched all the way through, or for some reason you skipped to the end, I guess, why'd you do that? Yeah, thank you for making it to the end of the video. You know how YouTube works, like and subscribe and comment that stuff, and there'll be links in the description to our Young Voters Instagram. So do you want me to put your Instagram in our?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, sure. I'll do that. I'll put a link to her Instagram, and I'll put the link to the video if I didn't put it at the start, like I mentioned before. We do have a Twitter. I don't think I'm going to link that because we don't tweet anything. What else do we have to link? We have our Discord. I already said our website. You're on our YouTube channel, and I already said our Instagram. So I think that's all the links.
Got
that's
everything.
all the stuff. Yeah. I always forget something, honestly. So, all right. So thank you for watching to the end, and yeah, have a nice day.